Okay, good. Hello, everybody. Good of you to make it this afternoon. As has been said, my name is Ziad Hayek. Until tomorrow, I am the Secretary General of the High Council for Privatization and PPP. Other than that, for you who don't know me, I'm Vice Chair of the United Nations Working Party on PPP. I'm the co-president of the World Association of PPP Units and the executive director of the International Center of Excellence in PPP for the ports sector. So it's a good, good list of titles for a specialist in PPP. I was one of the team members that worked on CEDRE. I'm very proud of that. I think CEDRE was an amazing process. It started a long time ago with meetings at the level of municipalities and at the level of provinces and asking people what are the things they needed in their regions, what infrastructure they needed. There was a discussion of the CEDRE or I should say the capital investment plan with all the parties in Lebanon, and everybody got to have their input. So it was really a national project. Now, CEDRE is made up of 4 pillars. For those of you who have not followed it, I will summarize them. The first pillar is what's called the capital investment plan. And the second pillar is the reforms, the administrative reforms and legislative reforms. The third pillar is the fiscal responsibility and fiscal tightening. And the fourth pillar is the McKinsey report, which we will talk about in greater detail today. So the first pillar is the capital investment plan. It's a plan of about 280 different infrastructure projects that extends over a period of 12 years. The first 8 years of it are what's called phase 1 and phase 2. And these are the 2 phases that the government sought financing for at the CEDRE conference in Paris last April. The cost of the first 2 phases of projects is about $17 billion. Our estimate was that about $10 billion would need to be financed by the government, and about $7 billion would need to be financed by the private sector. As it turned out, we were able to raise $11.8 billion, or in pledges anyway. So the first 2 phases were really fully financed because you would have $10 billion for projects to be undertaken by the government and about $1.5 plus billion that could go to support PPP projects that would be funded by the private sector. So this additional funding would be concessional financing, if you like, available to companies that will undertake a project. Of the 270 projects, 18 were identified as PPP projects, so they are the minority. However, those 18 projects are worth the 7 billion, so more than 1/3 of the total capital investment plan for the first 2 phases. Now, one of the great things we had going into CEDRE was we had really, I think, one major achievement and 2 promises. And those were the basis for the international community and the international financial institutions to provide us or to make the pledges that they made. The one achievement that we pointed out to is that we enacted a PPP legislation. And the 2 promises were that we will run elections and that we will reduce our deficit by 1% per year for 5 years. So you can understand that the PPP law was so important, and it was the one achievement we pointed out to. It was the one achievement that every speaker at the CEDRE conference talked about and said, because Lebanon now has a PPP law, we are willing to provide this financing. Then you can understand why I'm resigning. So that it is, when you see that the important thing, the PPP law being so important, and then the government seems having no interest in applying that law, it becomes a very frustrating situation. The second aspect of CEDRE was the reforms, and those reforms have a lot to do with our parliament, and I'm happy to say that parliament is undertaking a lot of legislative discussions to pass some of this legislation. Some of it has to do with doing business reforms, overhauling our code of commerce, overhauling some other legislation, including making it easier for companies to operate. We need legislation that has to do with new financial instruments that would incentivize the trading and volume and liquidity of our capital markets. So the reforms are very important. The third element is, like I said, the fiscal responsibility, and hopefully we will see some of that. Until now, we have not, unfortunately. It's going to be very difficult in a country that has been, for a long time now, surviving on basically the government doling out money for the budget cuts to take place, in an environment where our budget is mainly spent on salaries, on subsidizing electricity, and on paying national debt. It will be a very difficult thing to do. The fourth element is the McKinsey report. And as Karim said, there was some criticism of that report costing money. It is really the criticism of people that don't understand what consultants get paid. They don't understand the value of such reports. I personally think it was very cheap. It could have cost a lot more given the amount of work that McKinsey has put into it. I think it's an excellent document for people that have not tried to do financial plans or economic plans for governments. They may think that it's an easy thing. It is not. I have been involved with various governments over the years, 7 different governments. Every time we have a new government, the Prime Minister has said, we want an economic plan. And every time we have sat with the different economic advisors of the Prime Minister's team, and sometimes we would sit with members of economic consultants, etc. And every time we were hitting a very difficult situation for coming up with an economic plan, mainly because it would take forever, and then by then the government changes. So I was very happy to see that this time around we got a consultant with experience to do it. You can criticize it, obviously. Nothing is perfect, but it is an amazingly good first draft, I think, for a plan for us. I want to say that there's been, my main concern about the McKinsey plan is who is going to implement it. If you look at it, it is very detailed. It has taken some of the major ideas that we have discussed, all of us as a country. Our economists have discussed them in talk shows at universities. They've been discussed in Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and in living rooms in the evening when people get together and talk about الدولة هيك والدولة هيك وهذه الوزارة. So everybody has ideas. So we have here we have a draft of all these ideas that has been monetized, numbers studied, initiatives have been allocated to each element of it. Question is, who is going to implement it? Because when you look at the cadre of the government today, we have some excellent people, but the problem is that the excellent people are few and far between. And I can imagine sitting at any ministry today that is related to having to implement this report, and I'm thinking to myself, who in this ministry is going to look at those hundreds of pages that are relevant to each particular sector and be able to digest them, be able to make concrete plans, be able to carry them out. I think we have a long way to go. I'm sorry I maybe spoke for too long, but I'm taking advantage of all the time that we have. I will like to pass the microphone on to our MP from Kasserwan Jbeil, and actually now representing the entire Lebanese nation, Mr. Neemat Frem. I would like to ask you, Neemat, aside from your general comments about McKinsey, to talk to us, having been the president of the Industrialists Union, to talk to us about the industry side of it in very specific terms. Thank you.
أول شيء thank you على should we stay in English؟ ها؟ اوكي شو بنعمل؟ عربي؟ انجلش طيب انجلش احنا بلبنان ليه ما نحكي كسرواني اوكي طيب لكن بدي اعتذر من النقل المباشر يمكن على تواصل نضلنا انجليزي مشان لانه في كثير اجانب So أول شيء thank you for inviting me today and for this fantastic reunion, especially in this place. USG has always been at the forefront of events and things, especially this campus. Just when you think what this campus has seen. And I think today we are at the forefront of a new horizon and a very critical phase of Lebanon. Yani, before Ziad Hayek and after Ziad Hayek. For me it's a big sign of time that people like Ziad are leaving the public administration. And this is a big thing. It's a signal. If there is one thing which was a pleasant surprise for me since I became an MP, is that I discovered a new dimension that I did not really understand before, especially after I started to go within my duty of head of the Economic and Planning Committee to look at the public administration in Lebanon. And I discovered something new. And this is a source of optimism for me. The deep state in Lebanon is not very bad. The political state is destroyed, is completely in a bad shape. But the deep state is not as bad. And this is a symbol of the deep state, which is saying, I can't take it anymore, I'm leaving. I have met almost all of the first tier of the public administration. They are not bad. 70% of them I would be glad to work with at INDEVCO Group. They are the same executives that are making us so proud around the world as Lebanese. They have the same genes. But it is a system. They are hostage of a system. And what we are seeing today is a capitulation. And we have to talk about it maybe at a later date. And probably if you can invite us here to discuss this thing one day. Anyway, back to what you were saying. No doubt that I have learned something while working with the church a lot. Committees, you know that probably the longest institution that we know of is the church today. And I have seen that they have best practices throughout the years. They have developed it. One of it is when they are working on a synodos or anything that has to do with a write-up. The first copy, you know what they call it? La copie martyre. It's called like this, Michel. La copie martyre. So I think McKinsey is the copie martyre of something called, should not be called anymore the McKinsey plan. Actually, they don't want it to be called the McKinsey plan. It's creating a lot of, it's coming with a lot of luggage. It's called the Unified Economic Vision of Lebanon. which we have been looking for it. يعني مثل هيدي الجنرال يعني اليونيفرسال unified role low M عم نبش عليها after Einstein. We have been probably looking for this since many years. So this is a projet martyr. It has to be like this. يعني before you talk about who is going to implement McKinsey. There is a space between what we have and this phase called who's going to destroy McKinsey plan. We have to have an effort of destruction of it. But nobody's even, the worst thing is the indifference. It's like with love. The worst thing is indifference. We don't want this. We want, if we want it to proceed, the process to proceed is to come and debate it. As a committee, we launched this by having McKinsey and the parliament with everybody involved talking about it. But this is the first process. What we need is this unified plan to come on board and be adopted by the deep state in Lebanon to represent the continuity of cabinets. Yani today's cabinet has a huge duty. It is to convert this projet martyr into the unified economic plan or vision of Lebanon and be accepted by the deep state and be developed by the deep state in Lebanon to turn it into a work plan for every cabinet and ministry and every director general, and then will be voted, and then it becomes the roadmap for the coming 10 and 15 years. This is the project. أقل من هيك, less than this, we are perpetuating our disaster. After Ta'if, we have pillars, islands. We have islands of ministries that are not cooperating with each other, which is ending up in zero value or minimum value creation. This is the disaster we are living. This is why a unified master plan across across all cabinets, all ministries, is so important to achieve. So this is why, sorry to answer like this, but I don't want to answer as an island called industry. It's too little for this project. This master plan actually captured from the beginning at the essence of it, and you cannot create value from an island alone. You cannot create industry or value from industry within the Ministry of Industry. Forget about it. This is not how you create value in industry. You create value in industry when you have a cheap electricity, when you have the right laws, when you have the right infrastructure roads, when you have the right treaties, when you have the right marketing campaign to attract FDIs. It's not in the Ministry of Industry. And this is I think this is the single most important take home from the McKinsey plan. It is a unified, for me coming from industry, this is no brainer. I cannot imagine I can make money because I have a good sales department. But it doesn't work like this. If there is no production, if there is no marketing, if there is no finance, if there is no human resource, there is no value chain. So what we need is to agree in Lebanon, and then we need to create value through a value chain within killed ministries. So no doubt that the industrial sector in Lebanon, within McKinsey, when McKinsey took this feedback from all concerned parties like yourself, like the ministers, like the director generals, like the private sector, came out to the conclusion that yes, Lebanon can be an industrial sector, can be industrial also. And no doubt that part of what they detected, and the problem of Lebanon is that it did not grow its productive sector enough in the last 20 years. And the job creation drivers were not clear enough in this in this coherent plan. This is what they tried to do. So I think they are on the right track with industry. They are on the right track with industry. I did not see enough one thing. It is the twin track strategy that I had personally developed when I was looking at the industrial association, the EMIL Industrial Association, the twin track strategy toward industry. Lebanon should have a twin track, not a single track. The track that everybody's talking about is the sexy track. We want to value create, we want the technology hub, we want haute couture, we want fantastic, bravo, كتير حلو. But when we are starting from a very low base, if you grow at 20%, how much value you create per year? How many dollars you bring? But if you look at the other track, which is the basic industrial sector of Lebanon, if you know how to protect and nurture, if you make 5% growth of $2 billion industry, you bring at 200% of the other one. We have to think twin track. We have to think twin track. Every industrial sector in Lebanon that is still an industry in Lebanon. This is a sector, law of natural selectivity tells you that this is a very robust sector. Against all odds, against the electricity price, against the open borders, against the instability, against the port charges, against all the skies and all the winds, they are still surviving. I mean, this is a fact. مش on theory وفي البراتيك يا أخي. There is a good old Chinese saying: never be mixed between the map and the territory. The territory is, I know that usually they are together. You think they are the same, but they are not the same. A map is a map, and the territory is a territory. There is something on the ground happening. There are trucks that are moving every day. There are, until today, more than 80,000 people going to work at industrial sectors in Lebanon. They are probably the largest employer of Lebanon. But how they exist? So this is what's lacking enough. That's not very clear. But I think that this is very healthy, and not to come up with a master plan that do not require any modification. It doesn't exist. It is utopic. This is a great start. I welcome, and I'm asking the Ministry of Economy to take it, change the name, we agree, and convert it into a unified master plan for our vision for our economy in the coming 10 years.
Thank you very much, Neemat. Thank you. These are excellent insights. Thank you very much. Charles Arbid, you hosted yesterday a big event on sustainable tourism, and the Socio-Economic Council, which you chair, has taken the McKinsey report in a very serious way and is working on it. And so please tell us what are you doing at the Socio-Economic Council, and tell us more about yesterday's event.
Thank you. First of all, let me put a few words about your introduction when you introduced the report, which I like to call as the Lebanon economic vision. It's not the McKinsey report, it's our report. And if you take the value of this report, because we've heard a lot about the cost of this report, if we calculate the value of this report, thousands of hours of thinking, briefing, debriefing with representative, sector representative, this is a lot of value. And just for the sake of our dear Shakira cost us $1 million for one concert. So I think it is worth it to invest in this kind of thing, and it's good to exercise. I'm not against. I'm a Shakira fan, but and I'm a fan of the report too. But when I see the value and the outcome, I consider that what we were doing there is much more an investment than a cost. What I think is good in this report, and because I had the chance to be among the steering committee working on this with my colleague Mazen Swed, Dr. Swed, who was representing us in the steering committee, and we used to meet every Wednesday for months and months. What's good in this report that we took the direction of productivity as a major issue in the report, and that's why when we start working on industry, agriculture, tourism, and then technology and financial sectors, it was hard at the beginning, very difficult for us to change the mentality of the team. Because, you know, talking about industry and saying and convincing people that yes, we can have a sustainable industry in Lebanon. I used to be the vice president of the association. He's my president of the association. So we used to fight a lot for this story that which industry we want, can we survive in industry, what's the added value, etc. When we started the exercise, the first thing was to do a certain kind of mapping, and you were with us in the team. So we had to map the actual industries and to see what's the competitive edge that we have, what are the added value that we can create. And this was there. We had to fight with this kind of political mind coming from the 20 past years that says that productive sectors are difficult to sustain in Lebanon. So when you look at the report by itself, the answer is very easy. It gives a to-do list of what should be done to be able to have a competitive industry, a competitive agriculture sector, and mainly a sustainable tourism sector. So I will not go through details of the, because it's published. You can just read it. It's very easy to look at. But what I can say that a lot of Lebanese did not yet read this report, and I think this is we should open the debate and be happy to have this kind of exercise, because we cannot implement the outcome of the report without having a national consensus, and this is maybe something that we can work on. What's important, and what we as Social Economic Council tried to put, is the social part, the social aspect of what we're going to implement. Because we realized from day one when we came to the council that we do not, unfortunately, in Lebanon, have a social policy. We have social demands. When we talk about social issues, it always comes from unions saying, if you want to raise the wages and salaries, you have to give to grant subsidies here and then. But we do not, till today, have a social policy. And in this report, there is a part that's not very clear, and maybe we should have put some more time and input in that to get an outcome on social issues. Definitely, when we talk social issues, we're talking health, education, fighting poverty, social security, all these kind of things that we can enhance once we have serious and sustainable sectors. In the Social and Economic Council, this is mainly our concern. We're thinking and debating on how we can get new laws to have this protection, this social protection, mainly that will come out of the jobs and productivity that will come from the report and from the vision, if this vision is adopted. You have to know that still, till today, this was not yet adopted by the government. So the first thing to do, we have to take this report to the government to create a debate on that, and then to see if the Lebanese government, the new one, is accepting the report or not. And I think that we will hear a lot on that, and maybe not everybody is supporting, but we should back up this exercise. Few words on productivity. This is the major component of this vision. How to enhance productivity in Lebanon. When I say productivity, I mean the productivity of each one of us. We as Lebanese, unfortunately, we are not productive enough. And we have to say that. It's not easy to say, but this is the situation. We're not productive enough. We are creative, yes. Productive, not enough, mainly with the actual economic situation that we have. So what's the answer to enhance productivity? Definitely is through productive sector. Also, I would like to put a few words on the tracks, because we should not see the report only as one track. If we look on the future of Lebanon, and this is one of the policies that we're working on, I think that it would be good to look at it, our near future, as first, the first track should definitely be the outcome of CEDRE conference, with all the reforms and the implementation of CEDRE, especially this $1.5 to $2 billion that will be injected in our economy yearly. And we have to be very careful about the capacity of absorption of this. So CEDRE is one track. The second track is definitely the Lebanon vision. The third one, and is the most complicated one, is how to reduce the deficit. Because reducing the deficit is not what we're working on. And for those who don't know that, we took an initiative in the Socio-Economic Council to invite the 7 major parties for 4 months of discussion about the budget deficit and how to reduce this budget deficit. And we came out with 22 points. It's really a checklist, a to-do list that hopefully will be implemented. And we were very happy and proud to have in the ministerial declaration the Prime Minister calling to take these 22 points and then put them in action. And finally, the fourth track would be, as I've said, the social track. If all these are implemented, I think we would start going out of the tunnel. I will add, just to finish, because I don't want to take much more time. I think also that what missed in the report, and I was trying to fight for this, but I couldn't introduce, is the idea of decentralization. Because decentralization can be our step 2. And the report and the vision looks a lot about a centralized way of putting policies for these sectors. But maybe we should have, or we still can move further and a little bit deeper in the decentralization story of going and doing the same format, but in a decentralized way, even though we spoke a lot about region, how to enhance the economic situation in the region, the Tanmiyat Reef, and everything that comes with it. But maybe if I have to say something, the second vision, or the McKenzie 2, that would be good to work on, is the story of decentralization. That for me is also our way out, because through decentralization we can enhance definitely productivity, we can fight poverty, we can implement reforms, we can do a lot of things. So I will always keep on calling for opening a national debate about decentralization, to say, are we convinced, we Lebanese, that decentralization is our only way out, or is at least is a must for creating a sustainable growth in our economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys are amazing. You're like, without any prompting, you're taking 10 minutes. Perfect. Yasser Akkaoui.
This guy teach me one day that you cannot improve something you cannot measure. So I try to measure things.
Very good. Thank you. Yasser Akkaoui, your organization came up with an economic plan for Lebanon, and was published in your magazine, an executive magazine. Could you take us through some, could you compare and contrast your economic plan with the McKinsey report, or any other comments you might have on this subject?
Thank you, Ziad. Not to dwell on the McKinsey plan too long, but I think the McKinsey plan was more judged for what it is not than what it is. I mean, in the disclaimer of McKinsey plan, they said it's not a roadmap. And even economic vision doesn't give it justice. It's a very nice analysis of productive sectors that reveal a lot of opportunities. And had it come at a better time when the Lebanese population is not frustrated, expecting much more from a government, they wouldn't have been as critical of the McKinsey plan itself. I mean, if we take a step back and we look at it from a pure private sector opportunistic approach, there's a lot of opportunities, or a lot of opportunities are revealed. And definitely with them, it reveals how these production sectors, if optimized, the Lebanon can migrate to a much more sustainable and much more, if you want, productive model. Yet the frustration lays somewhere totally different. The frustration lays from the social contract that has broken in Lebanon. This tripartite relationship between government, private sector, and society is at its lowest confidence levels. The private sector is unable to achieve its potential. And today, more than ever, because of government's failure to up its game to a level that allows these productive sectors to employ, to produce, and definitely to base their roots, or to anchor their roots in real economic principles. And that's what the government is responsible for. You expect the government to build its roots in sovereign principles like food sufficiency, like energy independence, like governance, like responsibility. And this is what usually nations depend on governments to depend on. Unfortunately, I'm not going to end up complaining. We all know what's going wrong with our government. That is working perfectly fine, but totally for the wrong purposes and for the wrong beneficiaries. How are we going to break the cycle of wrong and rebuild our social contract in a manner that delivers? This is yet to be seen. We personally don't see, as journalists, we don't see how they are going to able to dismantle, for example, the electricity problem, which is based on an dysfunctional electricity sector that is benefiting, if you want, fuel importers, that is benefiting energy generator owners, where there is a lot of waste of energy because electricity is stolen, not to mention also the lack of collection or the bad collection. And all this was built to benefit and distributed among existing political parties and communities in a web of self-servant or self-serving people and officials, and that depend on them. How are you going to dismantle this? And yet, and how are our politicians going to remain in power if they dismantle the machine they have been upkeeping in a Swiss clockwork manner for the last 25 years? Our roadmap cannot be compared to McKenzie, because our roadmap is uh, our roadmap is a compilation. And I'm proud to have Neemat to be on the first cover of Executive Magazine 20 years ago. And of course, the gentlemen on this panel and in this room have all been in the magazine. So it's a compilation of all the calls for action that we have compiled over the last 20 years. So we compiled them, and then we shortlist them to 160 calls for action or measures. That's what we call them. And then we divided them under 19 national priorities. Under these 19 national priorities, there are 4 main pillars. So we have the combat pillar, so combat corruption, combat gender inequality, combat poverty, etc. We have the reform, so of course fiscal reform, judicial reform, regulatory reform, among others. We have the strategize, so strategize energy, strategize education, strategize healthcare, and of course the develop. So develop the diaspora, develop entrepreneurship, develop the labor market, etc. So and we published it in the December issue of Executive Magazine, and we have put it out there on social media, inviting a wider audience to intervene in the document. So similarly, this is the pull, we used to push. So we reached out to civil society, so grassroots levels. And here I have a very important remark to make. These are the little hands of men and women that are working very hard in rural Lebanon and Tripoli, from Akkar to Naura, to Rashaya, to Beirut. So here we're talking 75 people, civil society players, that also looked at this document, and we traveled across Lebanon, sat with them, and we compiled their intervention to the document, and we ended up with the current document. We call it version 2.0. It could be also, we're not afraid of martyrdom, so we have no problem of it being criticized. And I don't want to call it a manifesto, but since it is built from bottom up, it captures or encapsulates real demands from the Lebanese civil society and from people. So it was, of course, reviewed by people like Munir Rashid, like Arkan Siblani on anti-corruption, from Talal Salman on fiscal imbalances, from other prominent experts from UN, IMF, IFC, who are regular writers in Executive Magazine, who also added their layer of improvements. But again, it cannot be compared to McKinsey. McKinsey has its benefits as it encapsulates, and we have to give it its right in presenting the opportunities that each industry can present and how it could be developed and how what it can achieve. We would have expected, or we were expecting around the same time to a document that at least shows us what economic system do we live in, and that's what basically what's lacking, and that's what people are expecting. Are we in a welfare state, an état police, an état providence? Are we a social market system? Are we in what type of system are we in? What we know, and it's not documented anywhere, is when President Prime Minister Hariri was Prime Minister, we were going towards a more free market economy, where we're expecting privatization to happen. IDAL was open in order to shortcut all the red tape. The Majlis Mayo al-Amar was created also to expedite the reconstruction of Lebanon. So we're going in a direction that insinuated we were going to open an open economy. Yet this migration stopped at some point, and now we're living in a limbo. What are we now? We are still carrying a welfare state that is totally dysfunctional. Neither the healthcare industry is providing the healthcare that we need, nor the education sector is providing the public education, of course, is providing the education that we need. We don't have an economic model, and with that, we cannot really define this tripartite relationship between government, private sector, and society. It is broken. We need to redefine it, and that's where basically we hopefully we're able to move forward. I'm more than happy to share with you the little we have. The one thing I want to close in, and this is something that has been lost in translation, because we are holding civil society responsible for much more from what it is. And this I learned from at least meeting with so many groups over the last few months. There is a big difference between civil society and power grabbers. And this election has revealed the difference. Civil society are real men and women who are usually within their constitutional rights, which is get organized and institutionalized in a manner that will allow them to influence policymakers. And these people are doing their job. So you have think tanks, you have NGOs that are working in rural areas and cities, etc., and they're doing their work in a very civilized way and really having a big impact. Yet this role of civil society has been stolen by power grabbers who are not in civil society, never did belong to it, and gave civil society a bad name. Some of them won in elections, maybe others didn't, and we really need to stop satanizing civil society and sit with them in a collaborative, participative model that allows really civil society to influence policy making. It is not a right that we're giving. We're not giving them a favor. It is a right that belongs to them. And as long civil society is not sitting at the table, and we don't listen to them, because they are the closest, they are on the front line of poverty and poverty alleviation and the real suffering, this country will not going to go anywhere. And the social contract depends on them. They know what is needed. You can find the economic roadmap online and on newsstand, but online is for free. So please grab it. And if you have any comments, feel free to intervene on it. Again, although we as Executive Magazine, as it's our job to look at the McKinsey plan and point out weaknesses in it, it's our job. Yet, it's we also salute McKinsey for the undertaking. Unfortunately, it came at a time where Lebanese were expecting something from them.
Thank you very much, Yasser. Samir, Nasr, you're a consultant, you are in the private sector, but you're also very involved, have been for many years in public affairs and thinking about general economic policies in various sectors. Your perspective on the McKinsey report, please, and you had shared with me that for you there's an issue with prioritization, so perhaps you can talk about more about that.
Thank you very much. One important thing about this McKinsey report that we badly need an economic thinking in Lebanon, and this should be considered anyway as a positive contribution. For many years, there has been no, unifying or consolidating document that is showing proposals, suggestion, name it, roadmap, anything that will framework the public action and will say exactly what are the possibilities, opportunities, and putting things into perspective. I know that there have been criticism. I know that some people might, have expected something else or something more concrete. However, this is a positive contribution because it is putting on the table, a document that could be discussed, that could be refined, that could be amended, but in all cases it exists and it should be taken into account. The second one is that these suggestions are maybe on the medium and long term. We are facing the report or the suggestions of the report will face so many challenges. One of them is the process of decision. Now, as we know, the decision-making process in Lebanon is too wide. It's split into variety of political, community, and entities, and the decision-taking process is too narrow. And of course, it is always a way for compromise, search for consensus, sharing of power and interest, and of course, discussing on the repartition of the responsibilities. Another challenge, which is very important, is that we badly need a chef d'orchestre for that process. That is setting a clear agenda, defining priorities, suggesting a reasonable framework for each decision, step, and measure, coordinating the various filtering of the implementation process, and finally making sure that the monitoring and control are in place. An issue, the time. We cannot wait so long because the market, the economic community, the international community are in need of urgent, clear, structural, comprehensive, and concrete measures and steps, and very soon, because people are in a situation of they are just waiting. And of course, the perspective of McKinsey report is good, but I am sorry to say it, it's good for people that are thinking medium and long term. Short term should appear somewhere. Also, the preparatory work of the CIP, as Ziad underlined it, is probably being done, but we cannot see, or people, public opinion, are not seeing the big picture and the beginning of the transformation process. Another challenge is that within the discussion, there should be no veto, no taboos, no restricted area, no unfinished business, no announcement without launching of execution. This is very important in order to ensure that discussion are taken in a very open way, very flexible way, but also in a very determined way. Another challenge is the preparation. We should have a great degree of preparation of all stakeholders, civil servants, public opinion, legal setup, CDR, the market, the economic stakeholder, and the international community. That would mean an adequate communication, and of course, there will be a teamwork and not a solo work. Another point is, another challenge is to avoid improvisation and permanent discussion. Apparently, the improvisation and the permanent discussion are the characteristics of public discussion, whereby certain decision takes years and maybe 7, 8, or 11 council of ministers in order just to decide. One, things are prepared very well and options are presented in a way that is, do you prefer option 1 or 2? That better than to endlessly discuss, strategies and policies. And that would necessitate that chef d'orchestre. Another challenge is that the parliamentary work should be done in parallel. We have hundreds of laws that are just waiting in the parliament. And I think one of the best things to do is just to make them on the session. I'm talking just some example of private pension fund, change in commercial law, competition law, closing of business, mediation, bankruptcy law, insolvency law, secure lending, sectorial law, ease to business, and so on and so forth. That should accompany all these measures and put, things in action. Now, regarding the most important thing is that if we have all that and we don't have any margin of maneuver, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a situation whereby public finance is in bad shape. And people are talking about what they called corruption. This term is too vague. We have, in fact, 6 tracks that are completely different and should not be put under one headlines called, corruption. One is the spending. there is an issue of public spending and wastages. And, you know, I'm just quoting the president of the financial committee of the parliament, who had talked last year about a possibility of reducing expenses by $1 billion. Maybe if we do another effort, because this year they discovered some recruitment in the public sector and some unnecessary expenses, maybe we can go more than that. But that is a very important point. And it is a track by itself. The second one, and it is completely different, is the uncollected taxes. And that is a track that need to be digged also. Maybe by collecting on taxes on revenues or any other taxes on custom, etc., that are not collected or insufficiently collected. And this is another track also, which has nothing to do. It is a question of management, it's a question of control, it's a question of implementing the law to everyone.
Samir, please, 2 minutes maximum.
Okay. The third one are uncollected, the third one is optimizing management, and that public management. The fourth one is public debt management. The fifth one is dues to the public sector. And all the issue related to public institutions that are not, properly managed. After we got that margin of maneuver, of course, people would be released a little bit regarding the situation of public finance. But I have a last thing that I would like to underline. The process that is suggested either by McKinsey or by the implementation of CEDRE as that of transformation. And I want to manage expectation. If we do nothing, we are going to suffer. If we do something, we are also going to suffer, but for the good cause, because all the financial reform will reduce the distribution and will be, painful for many people. But we have to do that if we want to ensure that we would have, a possibility of a great future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have 20 minutes for questions and answers. Please keep your questions short, and please, panelists, keep your answers short.
I heard that in the parliament they were debating how Batroun gonna be the industrialized zone, and I know that McKenzie gave the right for the industrial zone for Tripoli Fair, and they gave them 5,000. So there is a big disconnect here. I'm gonna take the example of Jouni, of Jbel, of Batroun, of Tripoli, of El-Qa. El-Qa in McKenzie was the center of the manufacturing process, mainly in the prefabricated home, because so-called homes needs so many, that area near Qusair. And they are in, when we come to CEDRE, we find out that there is a big highway, $200, $300 million going through El-Qa. So, talking about Mr. Shar, that McKinsey supposed to be a decentralized McKinsey, everyone starts to work on himself right now because
Sorry, what is your question?
The question is the disconnect between McKinsey that it did not give the Batroun the right to do let's suppose that kind of tourism, but gave it to Jbel, and now we see that Batroun or Tripoli or other places are competing for the same thing. So
so you're saying it's being ignored already?
Well, yeah. For today, what happens?
Does anybody want to comment on this very briefly?
You know, Al-Qa is a manufacturing process. Is that enough? Or
understood? Thank you.
I think the approach is not the right one, because what the study or the vision suggests is it's a vision. So what you see inside most of these are examples. They don't have any executive power, you know. So if they talk that because we had this story of casinos and we should have casinos in Beirut, why in Beirut, not in the north? So this is not, it's not important whether we have here or not, because this is something executive that has to be discussed and planned later on. When they spoke about this prefab houses, this is not the only way out. They took this as an example to say this is the way that things should be done, but you can take many other examples. So don't worry about if it will be in Batroun or it will be in Jbeil. This is an executive story that will be discussed in the Council of Ministers. No. Sorry?
Thank you.
But even in CEDRE, the approach is not very, because in CEDRE, when we went to CEDRE, because I also had the chance to be among the official delegation, and in CEDRE, you know, we talk about 150 project plus another 50. These are not exactly what will be happening. We have to exactly. So we have a lot of effort. We need a lot of effort to reorganize all this. It's not a question of Batroun or Jouni.
Okay. Thank you.
Regarding this, but 1 second, يعني, it's too. We are. Okay, عرفت, but it's wrong to talk about this kind of things now. لأنه this is exactly where we should not go. لأنه we are مثل ما بيقولوا عم نسلخ البقرة بعد ما تصيدناها. What we need to do, how we will disperse the money at the end, be it in CEDRE or any place else, there is going to be a 3-dimensional criteria for every single project: economic incidence, social incidence, and environmental incidence. بنحط weight نقط. You have to put, you have to grade it. بعدين بنحكي فيها. Okay, but this is the idea, and this is a number which should.
Thank you. I'll take a question over there, please.
Thank you, Tariq Ammar, من Ara Research and Consultancy. I'm very sorry to hear, Ziad, you are leaving in Daman لنا. I think one of the problem of McKenzie report, it's written in English, not because of the language, but because it's missing a lot of the local economists. We didn't see any local economists in McKenzie report. And that's why I'll switch to Arabic in my talk. Local economists. We have a lot of local economists in Lebanon who didn't see their contribution in McKenzie report. And so my question. Most of them were invited to participate, but I have to say that some of them didn't. Okay, there are reasons. So anyway, I'll come to this, but let me ask my question and I'll move to Arabic. Building على اللي قلته نائب نعمت فريم انه هيدا بروجكت لازم يكون في كونسوليديشن. اول شيء عم بيصير في كونسوليديشن. بحس انا بالماكنزي ريبورت في شيء كثير ناقص اللي هو الفكر السياسي للسياسه الاقتصاديه او الرؤيه الاقتصاديه. بالنسبه لي هيدا الماكنزي ريبورت، اول سؤال، هل بيزبط لاي دوله بتعاني من انفراستراكشر وفي مشاكل؟ انا شفت مجموعه بروجيات محطوطه، هل بتزبط لاي دوله؟ ما شفنا دايجنوزز للاسباب ليه بلبنان نحن صار عندنا باريز 1 باريز 2 باريز 3 وما تنفذت. مزبوط زياد، يمكن رحتوا شفتوا رؤساء بلديات وكثير ناس، بس في كذا شغله ناقصه يمكن ما انتبه لما كنزي ريبورت وكثير واضحه. اول شيء التسريبه الفايرل اللي راح تبع اكسبرت بالورد بانك اللي كان عم بيحكي انه بلبنان ليش باريس 1 وباريس 2 وباريس 3 ما مشيوا. ثاني شيء بيان ارتكل بالواشنطن بوست بيقول انه الحكومه اللبنانيه هي اصلا مؤلفه او يعني دائما الحكومه بلبنان في بقلبها كثير من اصحاب البنوك او الديفلوبر ريل استيت ديفلوبر. نحن بنعرف البنوك والريل استيت هن مشكله اساسيه. ليش ما في نمو بلبنان؟ ان كان لانه التمويل ما في ستوك ماركت بعد القانون بالجوارير لبورصه بيروت، التمويل الوحيد بيكون عبر البنوك باسعار عاليه، والعقار بلبنان هو عقار ما عم بيكون للانتاج. يعني وحده من المعضلات اللي ما عم بيكون في انتاج هي سعر العقار. فالمشكله نحن بلبنان ما قصه نجيب قطاع خاص ونحط مجموعه بروجيات، بدنا نشوف حدا عام دارس إدارة عامة، بدنا فكر إدارة عامة اللي ماكنزي أكيد مش دوره هيدا هو، يكون عم يفكر بالإدارة بالفلسفة الإدارية لدور الاقتصاد. أنا كنت تلميذ بالتسعين مثل كتير من تلاميذ هون، وقت أول مرة صار فكر إنه لبنان بده يتدين بأول التسعينات، وفتنا بالحيط، صار عمري 50 سنة. اليوم ماكنزي أو سيدر جاي عم يقول تعالوا نتدين بعد، وقت نحن ما عرفنا ليش كل هالدين عم بيروح حدر وليش عم نخسر وعم نزيد علينا الدين. فهيدي فيجن ناقصة، فكر سياسي أعلى، مين بده يدفع ثمن هالمشاكل؟ شكرا.
Thank you very much. There was there a specific question? It wasn't.
بس الحلو فيه انه سالت السؤال وجاوبت، مش هتعذبنا.
Okay, this gentleman, then the lady, and then you, sir.
George Antoun, International NGO Mercy Corps. Thank you, the panel, for sharing your thoughts with us. The impression I got is that this is a good report that has good elements in it. And also we got the impression that we need a maestro and ministries should be talking to each other. And there is a lot of synchronization that should take place for this report to be, or the plan, to come to a plan and then be implemented. Now, knowing our experience in Lebanon and knowing that political honeymoons do not last for a long time, is there any elements in this report that could be implemented if it's not possible to have a maestro and have all ministries coordinate with each other? Okay. Thank you.
We'll take the three questions together and then.
مارلين خليفة صحفية. قد ايه عم تشتغلوا على الإعلام اللبناني، مش بس الإعلام الاقتصادي المتخصص، لا تسوقوا تقرير ماكنزي؟ يعني أنا وصل لي خفت منه وقتها شفت هيدا، ما بفهم بالاقتصاد كتير بس أنا إعلامية وبقدر سوق هيدا التقرير بطريقة سهلة ومريحة وتوصل للطبقات الشعبية وللمجتمع المدني ليقدر هو كمان يضغط على المسؤولين. قد ايه عم تشتغلوا على الإعلام لتعملوا لهم دورات تدريبية أو تلخصوا لهم هالتقرير المهم جدا ليقدروا هن يسوقوه، لأنه هن الموتور رح يكونوا لتسويقه.
Thank you.
Ziad Horani. How serious is the government in implementing judicial reform? Because I think these initiatives and the plans are obviously very good, but without the judicial reform, I think the impact will not be sustainable on a socio-economic level. So are we serious about this as a country, or are we going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again? Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask, please, very, very succinct answers.
أنا بستجاوب بسرعة ثلاثة. أول شيء ما في شك أنه ماكنزي هلا يتيم، مات أمه وبيه، بقى بدنا نبشله أمه وبي جديد. هاي مشكلتنا اليوم. بقى بدنا نشوف إذا وزير الاقتصاد رح يتبناه ولا لا. بقى خلينا إيه، لأنه
وزير الاقتصاد زميلي بالمجلس.
لا أنا زميلي يلي وحبيبي. بقى بدنا مش بكسروان والمجلس، وانا بدي انه الوزير الاقتصاد ياخده، حتى لو بده يخزقه بس ناخده ونطوره ونوجهه نحوله نحو الخطه الواحده للبنان. هلا نيل اليوم مطفي، هو وقف، ناطرين يرجع يقلع. بقى تجاوب على 3 سؤالات. من هيك انا بعتبر كتير اساس هلا هذا المشروع يوصلنا، وانا لازم نوقف نسميه ماكنزي بروجكت، لازم نوقف نسميه ماكنزي بروجكت، اسمه الخطه الوطنيه للاقتصاد اللبناني، الرؤيه الوطنيه للاقتصاد اللبناني. هل رح نقدر نعملها؟ وهيدي مسؤوليه وزاره الاقتصاد. انا بتمنى انه وانا حطيتها بس منحت الثقه كنايب للحكومه بال90 يوم. انا اعطيت ثقه مشروطه، وقالوا لي بالقانون ما في مشروطه، بس انا بالنتيجه بعد 3 اشهر اذا ما عملوا لي الشروط بدي ارجع افوت بموضوع الثقه للحكومه. هل رح نقدر بالشروط ال3 اللي حطيتهم، وحده منهم انه ب100 يوم يكون عندنا خطه واحده لاقتصاد لبنان يكون هدفها 30,000 فرصه عمل بالسنه. انا بتصور احسن محل هي ماكنزي.
You want to say something?
أنا حجاوب كمان بسرعة. رح بلش بالست. موضوع التسويق ما فينا نسوي ريبورت يعني او عم شوي يصير في شويه ضغط بالموضوع. هيدا بالنتيجه تقرير او دراسه. طيب هالدراسه هي مطروحه للنقاش، ومن النقاش بدنا رح يصير في تصحيح، في corrective actions بدهم يتاخذوا، ويمكن في افكار جديده رح تفوت، ومنهم بده ينخلق سياسات. وبعدين من السياسات بدنا نشوف كيف بدنا نروح لحتى نحن كلنا سوا كلبنانيين مش نسوق اكثر، نخلق حلقات ضغط وتاثير على السلطه وعلى اصحاب القرار لحتى يصير في خريطه طريق مضبوطه. ولمره يعني هيدا الشغل المفروض يكون في وزاره تخطيط بالاساس عم تعمله، بس هذا بده توافق، بده توافق لكل اللبنانيين، بده توافق للاحزاب السياسيه في لبنان، لا شغله هينه. وعملناها بالمجلس الاقتصادي لما جمعنا 7 احزاب وقدروا لمره يطلعوا ورقه 22 نقطه، وما كان الاكزرسيس صعب. رح اقول لك شو كان هين فيه، انه كل اللي انكتب بهيدا التقرير كل واحد منهم موافق عليه، بس ما حدا كان بده يقوله لوحده. بس لما انجمعوا كبورد، وهيدا الفريق كان انا سميته دريم تيم لانه كانوا 7 خبراء بيمثلوا 7 احزاب، وهيدي تجربه شديده بالبلد. طلع منا منتج، وهالمنتج دخل على البيان الوزاري، وهيدي شغله بالاداء جديده يعني لازم نشتغل عليها. انا بشكرك، بس هلا حنرجع يعني نرتب الاحوال. تفضل.
هيدا اللي حكيناه هديك الساعة بموضوع الديسيجن ميكينج والديسيجن تيكينج اللي عم بيعمله شارل رائع، لأنه عم بيجرب يجمع كل الناس، وكانت خطوة كتير منيحة يجمع كل الأحزاب. طب هودي أخذوا يعني اتفقوا على شيء، طب مين حينفذ؟ في بعض الأمور المكتوبة بالورقة كتير مهمة بقى، لذلك ما شفنا. طيب ما عندهم ممثلين بالمجلس الوزراء، طيب يحولوهم للممثلين لمجلس الوزراء، وهيدي الورقة ممكن تكون أساس لبداية خطوة إصلاحية.
اوكي ياسر.
بدي أقطعك بس تعليق سريع جدا. هيدي الورقة هن التزموا أنه العمل على التنفيذ. هون ببلش دورنا، دور المجموعات اللي حكيت عنها. هون دور الناس ودور الرأي العام أنه نحن ندق على الطاولة ونقول لهم أنتم التزمتوا بهالورقة مثل ما أنتم بتعملوا، بس التزموا بالبيان الوزاري، التزمتوا تعملوا هذا الشيء وتوافقتوا عليه، بدكم تنفذوه. وهيدي يعني بيكون على القليله عم نضغط باتجاه، مش عم نضغط باتجاه بس اعلامي وتشويق اعلامي وغيره، عم نضغط باتجاه تنفيذ نقاط واضحه.
بس لجاوب اول شيء على الجوديشال ريفورم، هي ضم صوتي لصوتك. اليوم unless we really reinforce and revive l'état de droit واللي هي اي دوله لازم تنبنى عليه، ما حيكون عندنا دوله. وساليه القضاء اليوم اذا ما بيرجع بنعاد النظر فيها عمرنا ما حنبني دوله. وبحب زميلتي الصحفيه بس ذكرها انه نحن ما شغلتنا نسوي، نحن مش شركه تسويق، لا منسوق ولا بنشرح، نحن شغلتنا نقرا ونفهم ونوضح. نحن السلطه الرابعه، اللحظه اللي بدنا نصير فيها ادفرتايزنج ايجنسيز للدوله او لماكنزي، بتصور ما برايي ما نشتغل صحافي. نسوق ما بنسوق، نوضح، وبدنا نوضح بوعي، بدنا نوضح بطريقه معمقه، وبدنا نقدر نناقش معهم. بدنا نسوي نفتح لننضم للادفرتايزنج اندستري.
Yes. So I'm heading a strategy consulting firm in the Near East, one of the competitor of McKinsey, and I know quite well the subject, and I have a lot of reservation and remarks on the study. In fact, my remark, the main remark, is on the title, Lebanon Economic Vision, not on the content. So I think that this report is a very good report. It's a sectorial policy. It has been done in silos. But it's not an economical vision of Lebanon. The element of a vision like the government deficit, the fiscal policy, the social policy are not there. They worked in silos, and the problem of working in silos is that the implementation mechanism, this study will not be implemented because instead of working on a transversal layers, that could concern the whole government or the whole parliament, they worked in silos. Each silo has a minister, and the minister will change. We are in a fragmented, multicultural country, and each minister will want to appropriate the policy of his ministry. So no one will accept a frozen policy by McKinsey or other consulting firm to be sustainable. So this cannot be done. And it's also against best practices of evolutive thinking. Today, the master word is agility and evolutive thinking. And we are freezing a plan in silo. This is contrary to everything I would have expected as a transversal thinking. I'm not diminishing the importance of the study in each sector, because there are a lot of valuable insights and a lot of good action plan. Also, maybe a last word, I was also quite puzzled by two things in the report. I'm highlighting the negative in 2 minutes, and just to steer the debate. There is a lot
2
of
minutes.
The last 2 seconds. I was puzzled that also the report recommended the creation of a unit. It's a sort of a PMO, PMDU, I think it's called, to follow up. So I don't think in Lebanon we need another institution that will be created in parallel to all the institutions we have. We have the CDR, Hayek al-Ighasa. The only good one was the one that you were heading, Ziad, so it's a pity that I see you leaving. So they are creating something else. The one who should follow that is the Prime Minister. This is on top of his agenda, not a sort of Secretary General. Also, another big deception was the quick wins. So for me, I jumped to the quick wins section and I wanted to see something quick, and I saw something that could take 3 or 4 years to be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Karim?
I think we have to be a bit fair to McKinsey and what was asked of them. What was asked of them is to put a vision, and they provided a vision, and there's a lot of information, a lot of sectoral information collected for the first time in one document, so valuable in its own right. But visions are insufficient until they get translated into strategies and policies. And what strikes me as being missing so far is not only has the vision not been accepted publicly in some deep sense, but it has not gotten translated into macroeconomic, fiscal, and financial policies. That is what you require. And in order to do so, you have to start with your current position. That means that you have to draw a plan that takes your starting point, not just looking at the objectives. It's all very nice to have objectives in 5 to 10 years, but in 5 to 10 years, as I think Samir was starting to say, we will all be dead. So when you talk about credible socioeconomic policies, you also have to say, do I have credible politicians to implement those policies and get them done? And it has to do with fundamentally the rule of law, governance, and fighting corruption in all the levels that Samir was talking about. But I think we need to be very aware that our fiscal position right now leaves you no fiscal space to implement any of the programs that we're talking about. What I found striking, both about CEDRE and about the McKinsey report or the Ministry of Economy report, is that nobody talks about the size of the public sector of government in Lebanon. The size of the public sector in Lebanon is enormous. There are numbers that talk about more than 300,000 people employed in that sector. We have not the possibility fiscally or financially to continue with that size of the public sector. So the driving economic policy must be, what is the role of the private sector? How do you cut down the size of the public sector? We can continue, but I mean, these are some initial questions.
Thank you very much.